Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our webinar today. We're going to be talking about selling sidelines and non-book products on indie commerce. So thanks for joining. This is going to last about an hour. My name is Matt Supko, and I work with ABA as a developer and consultant doing all kinds of tasks on indie commerce and indie light to help improve and maintain websites for bookstores. So just a bit of housekeeping before we start. If you have questions as we go along, please put your questions in the question pane. We will answer them. We're going to have a question and answer session at the end where we'll deal with the majority of questions that came up and an opportunity to ask other questions. And my colleague Geetha Nathan, who I'm sure you all know very well, is on the call. And if something shows up in the question pane and she thinks it's because I've been rambling and haven't said anything clearly, then she'll butt in and interrupt, and we'll deal with it then and there. So please just throw any questions that come up in the question pane as we go. Before we get started, I do want to mention for Indie Light users, if we have any of you on the call who are using Indie Light rather than Indie Commerce, most of the features we're going to discuss in this webinar are available for Indie Commerce only. So you're certainly welcome to attend. The first 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to talk about non-book products available through Ingram, and those are available to Indie Light. But just so you know, most of these features are only for Indie Commerce users. So non-book. Non-book, I noticed we put the stress on the first syllable. Non-book, it's both a noun and an adjective, not a book. So what we're specifically talking about here today are products that are carried and sold by independent bookstores that are not books. Basically everything else. It's a huge category of stuff, potentially. We have historically used the term sidelines somewhat interchangeably with this. That's why the title of the webinar has sidelines and non-book in it. But increasingly, we've acknowledge the reality that for a lot of bookstores, these are no longer sidelines. These are critical parts of your bottom line. So that's why we're using this term non-book to mean anything that's sold by a store that's not actually a book. So the first and sort of most straightforward piece of this, we're going to talk about non-book products that are already available through Ingram. Ingram actually groups these into multiple departments. Ingram has a bunch of different departments that are included in the data feed that they send us. And we have 2 of them now that are optional for Indie Commerce and Indie Light stores. You can toggle these on and off, and they will basically appear or disappear as you enable or disable them. The T department includes approximately 25,000 calendars, maps, journals, date planners, blank books, and other book-like items. And the M department is what they call gift and game. And again, it's about 25,000 products. It includes board games, puzzles, knickknacks, and some fairly random stuff, all of which is carried by Ingram. It's available to drop ship. These are generally pretty popular products that are in demand, and many of them are already carried by many of you. If you want to enable these departments, they're not enabled on your site by default. You'll need to go to the configure book settings screen on your site to turn these on. And here's a screenshot of what this looks like. Once you go to this screen, you'll see these 2 checkboxes. One is for T and one is for M. You can enable one or both of them. And if you end up, having an issue with it, if you don't like something about it, you can turn it back off again. So there are some nice advantages to these. They are available to drop ship. They are not, for the most part, eligible for media mail, which is important to understand. As a rule, only books would be available for media mail, so most of these products don't count. You can upload LSI, local store inventory, for these just like any other product. Many of you are already uploading LSI that includes book and other products, and if you include these in there, it's going to work just like any other product from Ingram on your website. There are a couple of ways that you can sample what some of these products look like. If you go to the browse feature on your site, there's a category called games and activities. And this category has a bunch of subcategories as well that you can browse through. It includes things like puzzles and board games, and you can get a pretty decent sense of what's included in these departments once you enable them by looking through that section. We've also added a filter in the admin only section of the advanced search. And you can use that advanced search filter to filter your search results by department T or department M. So that's another way. You can even search by things like publication date or how many Ingram has in stock in order to see which products are being provided by this feature. So just to give some samples, you can see over here in Department T, we get things that are maps or foldouts like these birds of the Pacific Northwest. It's also a lot of journals and blank books. Over in Department M, we have a lot more interesting stuff. One of my favorites is the Bob Ross bobblehead. Fun trivia question. Ingram carries 2 bobbleheads. Bob Ross is one. And if anyone wants to check what the other is, you'll be pleasantly surprised. They also have board games, so I included a sample board game here. So these products are available now. It's a really easy way to get started with non-book. You don't have to do anything except check those 2 boxes. Now, is there any reason not to enable them? Well, we do get asked sometimes, we make these optional, so why don't we just opt everybody into them? Is there any reason I might not want these? There are a couple of reasons. One of the main ones historically is that a lot of these products, unlike books, don't have a standard list price. So the price is something that's generally set by the seller as opposed to by the publisher or the creator of the product. Ingram's price may not be the same as what you sell this product for in your store if you already carry it. Now, you can work around that. If you're providing your own pricing in your LSI feed, for example, your price is going to, and you have the setting on for your pricing to supersede, your price will be used instead. So that's not necessarily a deal breaker for using this department, but it is something to be aware of, and we have heard from stores about that in the past, that the price Ingram lists and the price they have may not be the same. Additionally, if you carry a large number of non-book products and you're going to use some of the tools that we're going to explore a bit further on in this webinar, you may want to upload all of the metadata yourself rather than using Ingram's feed. And the reason for that is that your metadata, it could be different. You could have additional, metadata points. And it can also cause some confusion if you have 2 different products with the same SKU on your site. So if you find yourself in that situation, it may make sense to disable one or both of these departments so that you're using your inventory and your metadata instead of Ingram's inventory and Ingram's metadata. It's just up to you. Finally, we do have some stores who don't want to deal with orders that aren't eligible for media mail. So again, the vast majority of these products, if a customer puts it in an order, that order would not be eligible to ship media mail. But that's true of any non-book product, really. So we're going to move on.
If I could just interrupt a bit, there are already questions about whether this will be available later. Just a note to everyone, the session is being recorded, and we will provide the recording and the slides after the webinar in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So moving beyond what is available through the Ingram feed, you'll need to be creating your own non-book inventory. Obviously, it's likely that you carry many non-book products that Ingram doesn't provide in the feed. It is important to understand, in order for these products to appear for sale on your site, you will need to create them. There are 2 main ways to create non-book products. The first way to create them is manually. This is what we could call the old-fashioned way. And for those of you who are new to this, I will show you, we will walk through on this webinar what it looks like to create a product one by one through the admin. It's best for small numbers of products, under 100 or so, but we've certainly had stores who created very large inventories, one at a time through the admin interface. There's nothing wrong with that approach. If that approach works for you, then that's awesome, and that's all you need to do. But the other option is the bulk upload. And the bulk upload allows your store to create and manage a very large inventory. Here we say tens of thousands. We do have some stores using this tool to manage inventories that are in the high tens of thousands using spreadsheets. So again, when you get into a very large number of products, it's often more efficient to manage them in a spreadsheet program or another program, export to a spreadsheet and upload through IndyCommerce. If that sounds like a lot of trouble or intimidating and you'd rather do it manually, no problem. You can always use the manual tools to create products. But we are going to cover both approaches here so that you can learn what they're about and choose the one that best fits your store. Now, before you start creating non-book inventory, it's very important to review the types of products that you sell and plan accordingly. Not all products are alike, so it's a good idea to manage them using different product classes. This is a brief synopsis of some of the reasons why you might organize products into different product classes. There are probably other reasons as well, but these are some of the most important ones. So think about shipping quotes, for example. You can limit which shipping options appear for a specific class. Examples would include things like very light products, things like gift cards or greeting cards or whatever that might be eligible to ship, via an envelope or something that other products can't. Very heavy products for which certain shipping methods may not be available, or for which you might want to create a custom shipping method to account for additional expense in shipping the product. Perishable products, products that incur a separate shipment, basically any scenario where you have a line of products that might require unique handling, where you show some additional shipping quotes or you don't show some that you normally would. It's a good idea to create a separate product class because that makes it easy to control which shipping methods appear for that product. Payment methods. Similarly, if there are certain reasons why you need to limit which payment methods appear for a product, you would want a class for the exact same reason, so you can control which payment methods appear. This could include things like products that must be paid for in advance, products that customers couldn't redeem a gift card for, etc. These are various reasons you might want to use a separate class to control payment methods. A third reason is metadata. So different product classes can have different fields. And we're going to look at an example of that today when we create some products. We're going to create a line of coffee mugs, and we're going to add a unique field to classify them into travel mugs versus ceramic mugs that we might have in our kitchen. So anytime you have unique metadata fields, it makes sense to create a separate product class because you can have fields that appear only for those products in that class. Tax is another consideration when you're planning product classes. If you have some products that are non-taxable, by putting them in a different product class, you can control the taxing rules and how they apply to those products. And finally, organization. So both in the administrative interface, when you and your staff are managing your inventory, and in the customer-facing part of the site, when you create lists and views and things like that, it can be very helpful to have your products grouped by type so that you can filter them or make a view that shows only your coffee mugs or only calendars or something like that. So it's a good idea to take stock of what you want to add to the site and consider the classes that you might need before you start creating or uploading data. It's not really easy to convert a product from one class to another after you've created it. It is possible, and if you find yourself in the situation of already having a sizable inventory and needing to create it, we can help you with that. But it's definitely best to plan in advance and create as many classes as you need. So at this point, I'm going to go over to a live demo. We're going to create a product class and a sample product. So as I mentioned, we have some coffee mugs we're going to work with. So I'm going to go to products and manage classes. And at the bottom of this form, it's going to ask me for a class ID and a class name. By the way, I am going to go through some of this a bit quickly on this webinar because we have a lot of unique content to cover. We have done plenty of content on the past on creating custom products. So if you want a deeper dive on anything that I'm showing here, we do have support documentation on BookWeb and other content that you can review that talks about how to create custom products. I don't want to go through it too quickly, but I'm also just kind of trying to hit the high points. So we're going to create our mugs. This will take just a minute to save. I should have hit save while I was babbling. That would have saved time. Okay, so we have our new mugs product class. Once we create a product class, it is going to be available to us as a content type. And as I mentioned, we're going to add an additional field to this. We want to be able to categorize our mugs by, travel mugs versus ceramic mugs. So we're going to add a field and call it mug type. And we want this to be a list field. Using a list field allows us to specify that there are only certain values for this field. So I'll save this as well. And here we can specify what our allowed values are. So we're going to have two, ceramic mugs and travel mugs. And save. And now that this is done, we can go content, add content, mugs, and we can create any number of products. So this is what I called the manual process for creating products. If I wanted to create a DC Comics mug, I would just enter the name of the product, a description. I'll leave the description blank for now. We can upload an image. And each product has to have a unique SKU, which I'll put in, and a sell price. And we'll say it's a ceramic mug. So I didn't upload a picture for this, but you can see it's pretty simple. So we can go on in this way. We can add any number of mugs and other products by just creating them one by one like ordinary content on the site. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that approach if you want to do that. However, we understand that a lot of stores already have a substantial amount of inventory, and this one-by-one process can be very slow and tedious. So we have created a bulk import tool, which will assist you in getting your products up in bulk much faster. Now, much like the custom product pieces of this demo, we have done prior training materials on this. We have a help document on BookWeb, which you can review, and we have a prior webinar, which I did a couple years ago, that reviews this feature in much more detail. I am going to hit the high points here today so you can see how this would work with non-book. But if you want more information or want to learn more about it, those resources are available on BookWeb. So there are 4 stages involved in creating custom products through bulk upload. The first stage is preparation. That means compiling your spreadsheet file. So as you're going to see in this demo here, you will receive a template file. You'll be able to download a template file from your IndieCommerce site, and then you would need to fill in that template file using the data that you already have. Alternatively, if you have a spreadsheet already, you can potentially just change the headers on that spreadsheet to match the headers that you see in the template. That will work too. Once you have your spreadsheet prepared, you will upload it to your website. After uploading, there's a stage called validation. And during the validate stage, the system will check all of the data that you uploaded for issues, common problems, that kind of thing. It will check for things like duplicate SKUs. It will check for things like products that are missing a required field, like the price, for example. And if it finds anything like that, it will give you the opportunity to correct those errors before you actually release the data to the website. And then finally, the final step, once you've completed validation, would be to publish the data that you've uploaded, which will actually make it live on your website. The bulk importer uses a concept called staging tables. Staging tables are temporary tables. These hold product data while it's initially being loaded, while it's being processed and through the validation stage. The staging tables themselves have a schema which reflects the details of your product class, meaning it reflects which fields are a part of it, which attributes are a part of it, any other changes that you might make to it. So the staging tables need to be built or rebuilt when a product class changes. For example, if you add or remove a field, like we just added our mug type field to our mugs product class. If you do that, then the tables will ask you to rebuild them. They do know if their schema is out of date, so they will tell you. It's very easy. There's just a little link you click and it says build or rebuild, and we'll actually look at it here together in just a minute. Just a minute being right now. So this is a distinct feature on your IndyCommerce site. If you don't have this link for products, import product statuses, you will need to go to the store features and request ABA staff, IndyCommerce staff, to turn this on for you. So we're just going to click on import product statuses. And here we get a list of each of the product classes that exist on our website and the different schema tables that are available for those. For our purposes here today, we're going to focus on this field import column. You'll notice there are also tables, schema tables for attribute import and stock import. So we will probably be changing this interface in the future to de-emphasize these. We'll discuss the attribute import a bit here at the end of the webinar and how it works with LSI. And this stock import is for the previous stock feature. One of the things we're going to talk about today is how you can include non-book products in the LSI that you already send to IndyCommerce. And that is a new feature that is different from what I'm going to call the legacy stock feature, how we used to handle stock for non-book and other custom products. So increasingly, for stores who are already using this or have used this before, the old stock solution is going to be replaced by LSI for you. If you do want to keep the old one, we're not going to remove it completely, but the emphasis is going to be on using LSI, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So going forward, this field import is going to be all important, and these other two tables, which because of the way the screen is laid out, they kind of feel like they have equal importance and equal weight, you're really going to be focused on this first column. So when you first create a product class, you may see this missing option here. And then if you need to build the table, you'll see a build link, and you just click that link and it will build it. Once the schema table exists, we can go and start, we can prepare to import our data. So we're going to look at mugs here. This says the schema table for mugs is up to date, which is good. It means we're ready to go. And you can see we have a few different options here. We can view the staged products. This is also the screen we will go to upload our file and validate it in a few minutes. And then we also have some options here to download a blank CSV template. And we can also download a CSV export of existing products. These can both be handy options. When you're starting for the first time, you'll probably want the blank CSV. If you want to make changes in bulk, a handy option can be to download the export, and then you can go through it and make changes using tools in Excel that make editing potentially much faster than through the site, and re-upload. If you re-upload products that already exist, it will update those products. So this is not only a tool for creating products in bulk, it's also a tool for managing them in bulk once you've created them. So we're going to download a blank CSV template. And when we click this link, it will just send our browser a file and download it for us. So I've pulled up here a file preview of what this would look like once we've filled it out. When you receive the template, you would only have line 1 here. So I'm showing you an example of what this looks like filled out with product details. When you first receive the file, it would just have this first line with SKU, title, sell price, published, body, image, and then the mug type. So this is what it looks like once we've sort of gone through and copied and pasted our data from various sources. Just to talk about the columns that are part of the CSV and what they do, what their function is. The SKU is the SKU of the product. It's extremely important when you put your files together that this value match the SKU for the product in your point of sale system. So whatever the SKU is for the product on your website, it does need to match what is in your POS. That's important for a lot of reasons, but so that LSI can work in the future, as well as so that if you download and sync your sales back to your point of sale system, it knows which product was sold. Historically, we have given some guidance to avoid barcodes and barcode-like SKUs here. We are going to change that guidance a bit as a result of the new LSI feature. It is much more important that these match. So we aren't imposing any validation on whether you upload a value that is 13 digits or 10 digits or all numeric, for example. It's much more important, as I said, that this match what's in your POS. So if you have a product that has a standard, UPC, a 12-digit barcode, or an EAN 13, a 13-digit barcode, absolutely you should feel comfortable to supply that as the SKU for your product. There can be problems with ISBNs. So if you're uploading a book that already exists on your site, and we will talk about the solution for uploading used and signed copies and unique copies of books a bit later in this webinar. But for the most part, it's a good rule of thumb is if you're going to create products on the site, make sure the SKUs match. So the title is just the name of the product. The sell price is what the product sells for. And this published value is 0 or 1. That controls whether the product is visible to customers. The next few fields are all optional. The body field is the description. The UC product image field is a URL to the image on the web. So this is one way, not the only way anymore, as we'll discuss, but this is one way to get your product images uploaded. If there are copies of them elsewhere on the web, not on your own site, but on another site, for example, a vendor's website or a distributor's website, you can include those links in your spreadsheet file, and the bulk importer will automatically download those images and attach them to the product on your site. Finally, any unique fields that you added yourself through the content type thing, for example, like we earlier did the mug type field, those will appear here as well. So you can bulk upload data into those. So I'm going to go through now, and we are going to attach our sample mug products and process them so that they appear on our site. So I'm just going to click View Staged Products here. And this takes us to a screen where I can attach and process my CSV. So I'm just going to choose the file. And I already have it here on my computer. We upload, and you'll get a progress bar. I only have 4 products in this file, but the progress bar will run if you have a much larger file. So here we can preview each of these products. This is a handy way to check that the data got in there correctly. Make sure that the sell price and published columns aren't flipped, for example, or the SKU and title columns aren't, the right data is in the right columns. When we're ready to start the validation stage, there's a link here at the top that we'll click that says Validate Now. So I will click that link, And if there are any errors, then next to each product it would say error, and the messages would contain more information about what was wrong with that product. In this case, we don't have any errors because I did this in advance, so I made sure there wouldn't be any errors. And we just want to go ahead and import this data into our site. So once we click Import Ready Products, it's going to import these 4 products onto the site. So now we have 4 new products on our website, and I can click the content link and filter by mugs, and we can see that it went ahead and created these 4 mugs that we uploaded. So for example, if I want to open this Batman mug, you'll notice it came up. It includes all the metadata that I sent about it, including the picture, which it actually pulled from another website on the internet. One feature that is new for 2020 is the option to upload your pictures in a zip file. Since the book importer launched, we've always offered the option to use another website to upload photos. But a lot of stores have given us feedback that they already have pictures, on hand, on their own, locally on their computer. They're not necessarily online anywhere. So if you're in this situation, or you might even be taking photographs of your products to use, we have an option now where you can send us a zip file. So what you would need to do is gather your images together. They do need to be JPEG or PNG format. The most important part, the image file name has to match the SKU on your website. So if your product SKU is t-shirt 123, the image would need to be named t-shirt123.jpg. You can then compress these into a zip archive. We will give you, when you ask to enable this feature on your site, we will give you unique FTP credentials, and you can upload that zip file via FTP. We will process the file for you, and any existing images for those products will be overwritten. So if t-shirt 123 already had an image and you uploaded a new one with this file, we would replace the one that was already there with the image that comes in this zip file. So this feature is available for you to request now through your site if you find yourself in this situation. Again, it really only makes sense if you have a fairly large number of images to upload. If you just have 10, 20, 25 or so, it's probably easier just to go one by one, edit the product, attach the image, and save. But if you have hundreds or thousands of images, this can be a time saver. So now we move on to the LSI for non-book feature. This feature is new for 2020 and will be available for stores to try on your site soon. It is not available this minute, but it's going to be out in the next few days. This feature allows you to upload books and non-book product in a single file per store location. So for those of you who are already sending LSI, there may be few, if any, changes you need to make in order to support this. Stock information appears on the product page, the same as for books, and we'll see what that looks like together here in a minute. It includes things like the quantity on hand, the store shelf or location in the store, and again, the data that appears on the product page will work by location. So if your store has multiple locations, it will, just like it does for books, it will tell the customer which products are available at which locations. You can also send pricing for your non-book inventory via LSI. Just as we do for books, the pricing that you upload can be used to control what the product sells for on your site. Out of stock products cannot be purchased. So if a product has a 0 quantity or doesn't appear in your feed, it won't be available to purchase. And we'll talk a bit more about what that means and how you can control that in a bit. And finally, the LSI feature can be enabled or disabled per product class. So we talked earlier about product classes and how important they are for controlling different aspects of how customers can view and buy products. This is another reason why organizing products into classes is important. So, LSI may make sense for one class, Our mugs, for example, we might have 5 of one mug, and when it sells out, it's gone. So we want to, provide inventory for that. For other product classes, it may not make sense. Things like online gift codes or donations or store memberships. These are products for which the inventory is unlimited. So there's no need to upload data or limit the stock by how many are available. So you can turn LSI on and off for each product class individually. Just want to do a quick refresher on file format for LSI. There are no changes to the file format to support non-book. We are not changing anything about how LSI is received or processed. However, you will need to make sure that your non-book inventory appears in the LSI feed you send. So again, just a reminder of what goes into LSI. The product SKU, or EAN. It's important to note we do have a maximum length of 20 characters. So if you have any products with the SKU longer than 20 characters, you would need to find a way to reclassify that SKU to make it shorter, 20 characters or less. Then quantity on hand, price, and section and store. Those are the only fields that go into LSI. There are 3 ways to upload LSI. There's what we call the manual process, and that's what we're going to try out together here today. You basically attach a file and upload it through your IndyCommerce site directly. For those of you who use Treeline, Treeline can send your store's inventory data. Usually it's once per day. It may be possible to do it more frequently. We're looking into that now with Treeline. It's definitely possible to sync your store's inventory to Treeline more than once per day. And our third option is FTP. So if you use FTP, you can upload your LSI to our FTP server. Usually it's done directly by your point of sale system. Some stores I think do upload it through an FTP client or another automated job. But usually when a store uses FTP, it's the point of sale system that's actually uploading the file. So some best practices and considerations for LSI. As I mentioned, there are no file format changes necessary. Just make sure your non-book products are in there. Book and non-book products must be in the same file. So you would not want to send 2 separate files. You wouldn't want to send one file that was all your books and a second file that was all of the non-book product. They would need to be in the same file. As I mentioned, but it definitely bears repeating, the SKUs do have to match. So if you have products that you've already created on your website and you have inventory information for those products in your point of sale system, now's a good time to double check that the SKUs are the same on the site and in your POS. Finally, faster updates are increasingly important. So we do recommend that stores upload files multiple times per day if possible. If you're not currently doing that, we'd be happy to discuss with you what some options might be to get your inventory refreshed faster. Okay, so now we're going to dig in and take a look at what LSI for non-books looks like on a website. So again, using our travel mugs and ceramic mugs here as an example, I'm going to upload a couple of LSI files from my hard drive, and we will process those through, and then we'll be able to look at the LSI details. So I'm going to go to the local store inventory page. This is what we call the manual upload method. Some of you may use this method to supply files for your site already. And I would choose which store location the file is for. I would choose the file, and then I'm going to click submit, and it's going to upload the file to the server. And I'm going to go ahead and do an additional upload for my secondary location. Now, through the magic of the internet, I'm going to ask my partner Geetha to go ahead and process those for me. And while they're being processed, it will take a few minutes for LSI to process. We're working on making it faster and faster, but you will need to allow a little time for it to be processed. We're going to take a tour of the settings that are new. So when I go to this is under local store inventory, we're going to go to the LSI settings screen. And this screen has been here, but we've rearranged it and we've added some additional details to it to support this new feature and make it clearer which settings apply to which things. So when you go to the local store inventory settings screen now, you will see 3 different collapsible field sets. There's one for books, and I'll just take a quick peek at this. These settings should be familiar to you if you've used this screen before. These are all settings that have already existed in the LSI. There aren't really any changes here. We just grouped them together under LSI for books to make it very clear that these settings apply only to book product. Now, that said, I should be clear, these really apply to any product served from our central database. So that does include T and M departments at Ingram, which are technically non-book departments. So technically, this includes anything that is supplied to your website through the metadata we receive from Ingram and other partners. Here we have what we call LSI for custom products or non-books. Custom products, of course, meaning things that you create unique to your own website, either manually or through the bulk importer. And this is where all of the new and interesting settings for non-book product in LSI can be found. Most importantly, you'll find a series of checkboxes governing which product classes LSI applies to. And this is important because this governs where LSI appears for products, as well as which product classes will be treated as out of stock if they're not currently up to date or not available through your LSI feed. When you get a new website, when we first enable this feature for you, all of the product classes will be unchecked. So that will effectively be, for most stores, no change from how your site works currently. So you'll be able to go in and enable product classes one by one as a way of testing this feature out. And if it has behavior you don't expect or it causes an issue, you can always come back in here and just uncheck any product class, and it will stop applying LSI to that product class. So this is a setting change that takes effect immediately after you apply it. So what I'm going to do is make sure that it is on for my mugs. And we'll look a little bit here in this demo at the difference between when it's on and when it's off. But for now, I want to make sure that it is on. Here we have a checkbox corresponding to whether we want to use the prices that are provided in LSI. It's worth noting that we do have a similar feature for books. We have a separate version, we have a separate checkbox here for custom products. And this is so you can control, many stores, you may already be managing the prices of your custom product and non-book inventory by just editing the sell price, which is something you can't really do for books because the books have a list price. They come through, our shared database with stores. So that's why we have 2 separate preferences here. But if you want to just have your LSI feed provide pricing for your non-book inventory, just turn this on, and whatever you send in your LSI feed, that's the price we're going to display, and that's the price the product will sell for. Finally, we have the custom product availability statuses. This is similar to the book availability statuses. Many of you may be familiar with the feature IndieCommerce has where you can customize what the availability statuses say for books on your site. For example, many stores have changed usually ships in 1 to 5 days. That's a standard, that's a standard sort of boilerplate language that we use for books that are in stock at Ingram. Many bookstores have modified that to change the number of, the expectation. Maybe they say available to ship from our warehouse in, 3 to 7 days or something. Whatever makes the most sense for their store, what they want to tell their customers, they use that feature to customize that. So this works the same way for custom products, for non-book products. And there are 3 different statuses. One is the on our shelves now status, and this means the product is in stock. Then we have a separate one for the detail page. Again, this feature also exists for books. Some stores like to say something like click to see details when the product appears in book lists or in search results or elsewhere on the site. And then on the detail page, you can just say, on our shelves now. The third option is unique. It's a unique availability status for non-book and custom products, and it's simply called out of stock. So that just means that the product is not in stock and it is not available for purchase. So I'm going to save these settings, and let's look at some of our sample products here and see what they look like. So go back to our Batman mug here, and you can see that this product here, which is a custom product, it will say on our shelves now. It shows each outlet. Again, this, for those of you who use LSI, this should look very familiar, right? This is what the LSI for book products looks like. And I'm going to just load the other products here and we'll see. Oh boy, the Superman mug came out big. So this one's also available. That's too big. We'll just have to fix that later. This is the one I was looking for. This ceramic mug here with the Joker on it. This one in our LSI feed, neither outlet had this product available in stock. So what customers will see is the out of stock message, and you'll notice there's no add to cart button. So this product cannot be purchased because it's effectively treated as not available. Now, in addition to uploading a file, for quick fixes only, we do have a tab. You may have noticed this. This has been available for a while for books. It's now available for non-book products. We have a tab called LSI Editing. And if I click this, what this allows us to do is make quick fixes to products that are in our LSI feed. Again, as it says at the top here, this is for temporary overrides and fixes only. The next time we upload an LSI feed, it's going to erase changes we made here. So this is not a substitute for uploading a feed. You definitely need to upload LSI feeds. This is more of a, oh geez, there was an issue with our feed. We accidentally omitted this product, or we forgot to add the 50 mugs that we just received in time for the LSI feed. You can go in here, go to the LSI editing, and just change the quantity. So for example, if I want to put 50 of these in stock, just real quick, we know it's going to be fixed in our next feed, but we don't want to wait for that feed. I could put 50 here, and when I click save, this product is going to go back on sale. So again, this feature exists now for print books. It's just been ported over here to the non-book products so that it can be used there as well. So just to show some of the differences, if I go to the LSI settings page and I go back to my custom product settings and I turn LSI off for mugs, I just want to show how that looks different. So now this information here is gone. All the LSI information is gone. And this is back to what a custom product always would have looked like on my website. This also means that it's not going to look at stock. There's no out of stock or in stock. There's just the standard add to cart. Okay, running a bit short on time. Not surprising because there's a lot to cover here. I'm going to go back over a few more things and we'll leave a little time at the end for questions. So now that we've taken a quick tour of the LSI for non-book, how to prepare, again, check that the products you want to supply LSI for already exist on your site. If they don't exist on the site, you do need to create them. Uploading an LSI feed, it doesn't, the LSI feed is just the SKU, the quantity, the price. It doesn't include a lot of the metadata you would need to market the product to a customer, like the name of the product, a product image, etc. So you do need to create the products you want to supply LSI for in advance. That said, if you have SKUs in your LSI that don't appear on your website, that is fine. We won't do anything. There's nothing bad about that. It won't hurt anything. You can go ahead and upload them, but nothing will appear until you create the product. As I've mentioned a few times, probably getting tired of hearing it, do make sure that the SKU matches what's in your POS system. And definitely check that your LSI export includes the non-book products you want to show on your site. I know anecdotally from looking at LSI for many stores over many years that most stores do include non-book SKUs, non-ISBN-like SKUs. I see them in our feeds all the time, but definitely review and make sure that the SKUs that are in your feeds are the products you want to include. For those stores who are using the legacy stock module, just a high-level overview of the differences. The legacy stock module, it doesn't support multiple store locations. It does not support the detailed stock status that customers see on the page. It doesn't include native support for price or the store section or shelf. The legacy stock module required uploads to go through the import products page. There was no way to automate it or send it via FTP or Treeline. The legacy stock module, it requires a separate file upload with a different format, which was a pain point for a lot of stores to have to create 2 different files. The legacy stock module worked per SKU, whereas LSI is per product class, making it easier to turn it on and off for different types of products. One major difference to note, if you are using the legacy stock module, LSI does not automatically reduce stock when customers make a purchase. So with the legacy stock module, if you had 5 in stock and a customer bought 3, you would have 2 in stock after that order went through checkout. With LSI, we don't debit the numbers when customers buy something. And that is consistent with how LSI has always worked for print books as well. When customers buy books, we do not debit LSI numbers. This is why we do encourage you to upload your LSI more frequently. That way your inventory data will stay fresh, because your website is not the total picture of your business. As you well know, the same product that you sell on your site could also sell in your store between now and a few hours from now. So uploading LSI repeatedly and frequently is definitely the best way to handle that scenario. And finally, what we call adjusted SKUs are not currently supported by LSI. So dig into just a little bit about attributes and options and what we mean by that. So attributes and options is an advanced feature for custom products. We do have some material that covers it in much more detail, and it allows you to create, it's kind of like the metadata fields, but it allows those fields to also influence the price of the product, for example. So when you add attributes and options to a product, you can make different variations of the product or different changes somebody makes to the product alter the price. LSI for non-book is compatible with attributes and options so long as they do not create variations of a product that have adjusted SKUs, meaning they have different SKUs, meaning that one product has multiple SKUs with multiple stock levels from different sources. So just to give a few off-the-cuff examples, what would be perfectly compatible with LSI for non-book is a signed copy of a book where attributes allow the customer to choose a gift message. So that's perfectly fine. It's always the same book, it's just what's written in the book may be different. That doesn't create multiple SKUs and doesn't create multiple sources of inventory. Similarly, a product that has a gift wrap option, where somebody can check a checkbox and then they're charged an extra fee to have the product wrapped, that's perfectly fine. What does pose an issue are products such as a t-shirt in multiple sizes and colors, where each combination has a different SKU. So, there might be a small red t-shirt and a large green t-shirt, and if they're all part of the same product, that's not currently compatible with LSI for non-book. If you do want to use LSI for products like that, you would need to create them as separate products as opposed to variations of a single product. Finally, just want to mention a word about what we call store books, non-books, in other words, books that are not books but are not non-books either. That makes sense. This is a feature that has existed on IndieCommerce for a couple of years now. It allows stores to upload used or signed copies of books that exist already. It has a store book product class of its own. Its fields are automatically filled in based on existing data, and it allows stores to set pricing and inventory separate from the new version of the book. So good news is that store books are absolutely compatible with LSI. If you are already using this feature and you want to upload your used or unique, signed, etc. inventory into your LSI file, it will absolutely work. It's just important that the SKUs need to match. And for store books, the SKU does need to be something different from the ISBN. The ISBN 13 on your IndieCommerce site and in your LSI feed, the ISBN 13 is always assumed to refer to the new copy of the book. So if you carry both new and used copies of books, you may already be modifying the SKU for your point of sale system for the same reason, but it is something to be aware of. You would need to use a different SKU beside the ISBN, and then the SKU on your website and the SKU on your point of sale system and your LSI feed would need to match. Finally, for more information, if you go to bookweb.org/nonbook, this is a simple link, bookweb.org/nonbook. We have an FAQ that goes over a lot of the same information we went over here in the webinar. There are links to other help documents and things to get you started. So left just a bit of time here at the end for questions.
Yes, Matt, we have many questions. Let me see if I can group them together so we can get through that faster. So first, let's look at some questions about images. How should images be named if we have multiple images for a single product?
We only support one image per product via bulk upload at this time. So you would just supply what the primary image is.
Can we use our own photos?
Absolutely. If you want to set up, it's actually a fun project. I used to do this. It's actually a lot of fun. You set up a little photo studio and take pictures of all your inventory. Absolutely. If you want to take your own pictures, they should work just fine.
Okay. So now a few questions about, another one about image. Can we use the URL to a product image when we add items individually or only when we use the bulk importer?
Oh, good question. When you add products manually, one by one, there's just an upload field. So you would click that field and attach the file from your hard drive. We don't currently have a feature for you to paste a URL when you add products manually, but that is an interesting idea.
Yes, and we have a few questions about Department M and Department T. So this is one. If Department T or M are turned off and product is uploaded that matches product in T or M, will the system retrieve the content, like photo, description, etc.? Thus, I can bulk upload puzzles, calendars, etc., and see what is already in the database and post.
Wow, that's an interesting question. I don't believe it will, because when those departments are off, we treat those products as though they do not exist. So if you want to experiment with that, what you certainly could try is enabling those categories and uploading similar inventory or trying to create some of them as store books. But if those categories are off, your system will not load them. It shouldn't load them under any circumstances.
Okay. Next one. Can you filter Ingram department to show only what is in stock in store or preferred warehouse?
We are looking into adding views handlers for LSI. It's not available currently, and it's not part of the demo at this time. I do hope we'll be able to get it done quickly. As far as limiting by Ingram numbers, that is possible. Certainly in advanced search, you can do that. So we have had a number of requests to be able to limit products to in stock, and we are looking at that.
Okay, now some questions about the bulk importer. Do all 4 steps in the bulk upload have to be completed immediately?
No, that's a good question. You can do them, you can upload your products and leave them and validate them later, or there's even an option where if you don't you can truncate the table. So if you upload something and you look at it in that table and you go, oh, that's way off, these columns are backward, or this thing is missing completely, there's a link where you can just completely empty that table and start over. So you can absolutely take your time with it, or at any point before you commit, where you click that, publish to site button at the very end, import ready products, at any point up until then, you can change it.
Next one, do we have to enter the info for the CSV manually, or can we upload it from Booklog into a spreadsheet?
So that is going to be up to your individual process. We do provide a CSV template, and some stores will download that template and then fill it in by hand or copy and paste from other sources. If you can get a export from your point of sale system that contains the same data that is needed by the bulk product importer, you just need to change the headers from what you have on your spreadsheet that you got from your POS system to what the bulk importer expects to see. So for example, I'll just go back to that slide. It will make a little more sense, I think, if we look at this. So for example, in the template that we provide, the SKU field is called SKU, SKU, lowercase letters. If it comes out of your POS system and it's called ISBN, capital ISBN, you would just need to erase where it says ISBN and replace it with SKU, SKU. And that would go for all the other fields here. These headers can be in any order, so you don't need to rearrange them to be in exactly this order. They just need to, the text needs to match. So if it says product instead of title, you just need to change it to title.
Okay. Products that I have added to our website are not showing up in search even after 24 to 48 hours. Why might this be the case?
That's a very good question. So if you upload a very large number of products, say 100, 200, thousands, it can take a very long time for those products to get indexed into search. The search indexing runs when there's some internal process on your website called cron, and the cron runs every couple of hours. And every couple of hours, it updates search index for content that has changed. Usually it's 50 to 100 entries. So if you've supplied thousands and thousands of products, it can take a very long time for all of them to get indexed. We're working on some ways to make that faster for stores in the future, but if you find yourself in this situation, just write to us and we can do a special index for your store to make sure that all that bulk content you created gets indexed immediately.
All our sidelines are not in our POS. When we sell a sideline, we always enter a standard ISBN or SKU, for example, 3 for cards, 4 for other sidelines. Do we need to add each sideline to our POS to match what we put on our site?
Well, it would be a good idea I would think, for a number of reasons. If you have an alternative strategy that could get those products into your LSI feed, then I keep mentioning point of sale system as the center focus of it. Different stores have different strategies, and you may have something that works for you. But ultimately, each product does need its own unique SKU, and that's how the LSI file says, like if you look at these, say, our Batman mug here, the SKU is 503, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, 233104, right? So the LSI file, it needs to match that value to what's on the site so that the system knows that the inventory you're supplying corresponds to that product. So if you don't have SKUs for these products, you would need to create them somehow, and each product would need its own SKU. So it sounds like what you're doing is a category type thing. So anything that's of this category, you would enter 3. So because each product within that category naturally has its own inventory levels, let's say if all of these mugs were category 5, for example, but I might have 10 Batman mugs and no Joker mugs at all and 15 Superman mugs. So we just need to be a little more specific and assign a SKU to each one of them.
Next one, we have some SKUs that we contractually cannot sell on our website. Can we exclude those from LSI?
You shouldn't need to worry about excluding them from LSI as long as the product doesn't appear on your website. We won't load it. Now, if those SKUs are also in Ingram's database, then they're going to appear on your website, but that's true regardless of whether they're in your LSI or not. So if they're unique SKUs, these are not products that Ingram carries, then just don't create any product with that SKU on your site and it won't appear. If they are products that are available through Ingram, then you would have to remove them, probably using the not for sale feature.
Yep. Next one is about store books. We were not able to set inventory for used books, the stored books, and have had issues of multiple people buying one used copy online. I guess the only way for that is to manage the stock, the legacy stock at this time, I guess, right, Matt?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the legacy stock module, we're not planning to remove support for that. So if you are using it and it does work for you, you can continue to use that. If you have a product that you only have one of, it may be a better solution. But we think that for most cases and for most stores that LSI is probably going to be a better fit, and it's just a matter of refreshing it frequently.
And going back to Ingram products, is there a view that already exists for the Ingram product classes to make it easy to highlight on our websites? I'm thinking of the IndieBound Next List, for example.
Well, we don't have anything quite as nice as the Next List. I did mention early in the demo, there is the browse feature. I'm trying to find that.
Yeah, Mindy, I had also mentioned in the other webinars, you can, browse is the simplest one, or since it's an IndieCommerce site, you can create views and then filter by Ingram M or Ingram category T. That should be possible. But there's nothing out of the box. You'll have to create those. A couple of questions.
That's an interesting idea, though. I know we're doing those genre Indie Next lists. Maybe we could do a non-book Indie Next list. We'll have to suggest that.
A couple of questions about above the tree line. Can I look on my site somewhere to find out if my LSI file is currently coming from above the tree line or my POS?
We know that, but I don't think we make that information visible to stores, do we?
No, not at this time. No, we can check on our end, but the stores cannot. That's correct. There's one more. How can we get more information regarding Treeline uploading LSI when they are uploading book information?
I don't know, but if you know, tell us.
Related. Yeah.
We've been discussing that too. As stores are trying to get their inventory up faster and faster, definitely, if you want to ask Treeline, we'll reach out to them as well. We would very much like to work with them. So for stores who are using Treeline, if there's ways that you can get your inventory updated more frequently, we'd like to see that happen with them too, but we don't know the specifics of it just yet.
Yep. And another question about the non-book upload, does this have to be continuously updated like LSI?
Not as frequently. You may be thinking about what we do with LSI is we actually expire it in 10 days. So if you don't upload LSI for 10 days, we just consider it expired and we don't display it. The bulk importer does not work that way. You could use it once, and if, knock wood, you got it perfect the first time, you could never use it again. You could create 5,000 products and just manage them through the site from then on. But you probably will find it useful. Our stores who are heavy users of that feature currently, they do tend to process files through, I would say not daily, but periodically, a couple of times a month at least for certain departments. And they use it primarily to update things about those products. So as they change the metadata, publish some products, unpublish others, generally once stores use that feature, they do tend to use it periodically to refresh and update that content because they find it to be a faster and more efficient way of doing that. But there's no requirement that you continue to use the feature if you start using it.
This next question, I think we have heard this regarding books also, like differentiating books that are on order and those in stock. So this is the wording: if the book is not in stock according to LSI, it will not be available for purchase. Does that mean someone cannot order an item that is out of stock? In this case, it is yes, but that seems problematic if we have more of something on order and would like to collect back orders, like what we do with a book.
Right. So the biggest issue with that is that at this time, the LSI format only supports quantity on hand. We don't have a column in it to support quantity on order. So we don't have any easy way for stores to communicate the nuance of that to us. If a product says 0 in the feed you upload, we don't currently have any way to know that there might be more on the way. What the options that you would have are twofold for that situation. Well, threefold really. You could find a way to fudge the LSI numbers you provide and somehow factor in copies on order into copies on hand in the LSI feed you send. That may be difficult or not so difficult depending on how you prepare your LSI feed. Another thing you can do is, I'm going back to the LSI settings here. On the LSI settings page, this out of stock message is customizable. So it doesn't need to say out of stock. It could say, back ordered, more coming, out of stock, contact us to order. It's not ideal, but you could put something in here to indicate to customers that this product isn't permanently gone. And finally, you could simply remove the LSI from the product class in question temporarily until you restock it. This may or may not work depending on whether you have a lot of other products in that same product class.
Okay. We're almost done. 2 more. And if you add lots of products manually, then want to switch to bulk upload, what happens to the items manually added previously?
Oh, good question. They continue to exist. So you can use the two methods interchangeably. You can create a bunch of products by hand and then create more products using the bulk upload. You can create a bunch of products using the bulk upload and then use the site to edit them just as if they had been created by hand. You can export your products, and when you export all your products, it will include stuff that was created by hand and stuff that was bulk uploaded. So there's really no difference between them, and you can use either strategy or both at any time to manage any product.
Okay, and this is the last one. I saved it for the last because I thought this was like a good summary of this whole session. And Lynn, you had asked this as a basic question, but I have to say this is a perfect summary. The question from Lynn is, if I understand this correctly, we would first create our custom products, either manually or through the bulk upload, and then use LSI to keep stock numbers up to date, assuming everything is in the POS.
Wow, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
You didn't need to attend this session. You already had it straight.
That is the simplest way and the perfect way to summarize this webinar, Lynn. Thank you for asking that question. I think we are at the end of this, and we are done with all the questions. Again, if you have more questions, don't hesitate to write to us. And this feature should be available. I think some of you are trying to follow along while Matt was showing the LSI settings, and it's not yet available on the sites. You will see that soon in the next couple of days.
Okay, thanks everybody for attending.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.